We now have a presentation on the Discovery Zone, developing an innovative UX-driven library discovery service. And we have two presenters this afternoon, Brian Flaherty, who is the Associate University Librarian for Digital Services for the Library and Learning Services at the University of Auckland. He's been interested in the development of library discovery services since building the first University of Auckland library website in 1996. And which seems a while. It's very old, Brian, but we'll forgive you. And the other presenter is Cheryl Baster, who's the web manager for the Library and Learning Services at U of A. Her contributions to building the next generation library centre on the web, project management, user research, information architecture, content governance, communications and change management, and generally supporting the new service initiatives in the online environment. That sounds like pretty much everything, Cheryl. So welcome to you both, and we look forward to what you've got to say.
Great. Thanks, Jill. Kia ora koutou. G'day to the Australians. Cheryl and I are doing the standard tag team thing. I do the intro, the outro, and Cheryl gives you the good stuff in the middle. So I'll just kick in to start with a little bit of library history, as was mentioned. So it was 20 years ago, maybe not exactly today, but that was our first library website. With 14K modems, we tried to limit the graphics, just stuck it all on a table, the things that we could deliver at the time. After that, it's about 1997, I think, our first site that had our standard layout, which is information on the left, services on the right, a bit of a graphic and something underneath. 2002, was it about then, Rochelle? I don't know. Okay, so the website, same sort of thing. Maybe we've put the news on one side, services, graphic in the middle. We changed our colours. We're still the Library Electronic Academic Resource Network, we called ourselves. This is about 2014. Great value in consistency. We're consistent, aren't we? We've got two columns. We've got the graphic in the middle. Font a little bit smaller, which I'll come back to. So, the next version, time for us to redo the wallpaper, bit of IA, and drop in a catalogue or web discovery box, yes. Well, not so much this time after 20 years. We wanted to do things a little bit different. 91, any guesses what 91 is? The number of choices you had to make on our last website that were available to you on our old website, 91 choices. That's why the font kept getting smaller and smaller. Okay, so we also did a little bit of some surveying of where we'd got to with our staff, what things weren't going well. That was a good bit of feedback, defeated by the splitting of things. They wanted one funnel of access to information. We were aware of the problems with search and browse, and it seems to be universal among libraries. You have the stuff to search, then you have some browsing stuff, and they're quite disparate or separate. At our place, we've got a search box there. We've got this browse stuff down here. Most of our students see one or the other and not both. The staff who've had the same sort of website for a long time just go to the things that they know, never look at anything else. We also had the lengthy, longer and longer browse lists of things, databases, whatever. And as they get longer and longer, they become almost useless. And we hadn't incorporated those things into search. So do a search for Medline, for instance, and look at all the results coming back and see if you could find out which one was the database. Really difficult to do. Oh, time is done. I'll just shut that one down. Okay. Right, fragmented services. We hadn't embraced the idea of point of need philosophy. Everything was on the front page, whether you wanted it there or not, and it was smeared across the home page. Words matter, and librarians spend a lot of time creating words to describe their search. So we've had, in the past, things like super search, single search, library search, catalogue, multi-search, search almost everything one site has as their brand. Search almost everything, I like that. An Australian site does have three options, all front and central: search, cross-search, and site search, just to confuse the poor students. What's the difference between search, cross-search, and site search? I don't know. We've had library search and the catalogue, and our struggle to embrace both our in-house stuff and the stuff that's available via our web discovery service. Something really terrible is going on here. I'll just turn the whole thing off. Okay. Our vision, what do we want to do with our project? It's kind of simple, really. We want to have a relook at the home page design, and we want to think about discovery again, to create something we call a discovery zone. So thinking about all that split between search and browse, create a discovery zone, and have a complete rethink about what a library homepage is. So it's the first of many tasks that we're doing. Also, we wanted to have a look at, we want to help you find what you want to find, but can we help you find what you didn't know that you wanted to find? Serendipity seems to, some people say it's been lost when you can't just browse the shelves anymore and pick out things in the same area. A little bit of techie, so we decided we wanted to do it all in-house, deliver it with our own staff. The technical solution is with Node.js, with Nginx as a foundation layer, Linux Red Hat servers, load balancers, SSL offload for Shibboleth, that kind of thing, the standard. And the key thing underneath it all is our, to do our heavy lifting is a search API we developed, which is kind of a scalable discovery application, and pulls in the data from different search providers, the main one being Primo and Discovery Service, but also a range of local Solr indexes, and pulling them all in together. Our design, we decided just after 20 years no longer to design by library committee anymore, and to do, yes, iterative design process. UX design. Am I done? Do you want to drag me off yet, Cheryl? Not quite. Okay, and so that design process is really based on client-side JavaScript framework in 4 zones: a global navigation zone, discovery zone, promotions, and a news zone. So the new site, the new homepage looks something like that. That's just a promo from in the middle of the graphic from one of our archival collections, and you can see the 4 zones there. So that's kind of the intro of why we're doing it, and Cheryl and I will give you all the good detail stuff.
Great, so I hope that you've enjoyed that big picture of our strategic vision that Brian was just painting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a little bit more about the journey that we've gone through with our user-centered design framework in which we've been running this project. So you can see that within user-centered design, it's actually made up of 3 parts. What we are now engaging in is undertaking a lot of research with our users. That's really at the heart of the new way that we're working. That then feeds into the findings, are then feeding into the analysis, which are then helping defining what then feeds into the actual design and development of the site. So it's a 3-part cycle that is ongoing, and it means that we are now engaged in continuous improvement. This particular process is actually quite different to those website designs that Brian just showed you earlier, where we just basically launched something and left it. So we've had quite a cultural shift in the way that we're now working. Within the design and development of our new website, we went through a prototype phase, we did a beta release, and then we went through to the official launch of the product, but that was only a minimal viable product because we now are doing further iteration of that design. So that's all as part of the new process that we're engaged in. So a little bit about how long we've been working with the building of the new site. The early phase research actually was conducted back in 2015. So there is an investment to get us through to where we are now. But we started off with benchmarking of the old design and just looking at common tasks across all of our audiences and just noting just the range of complexity or ease of use, time frames for completing tasks. We also conducted a lot of in-depth interviews with our users across all of our faculties. We really wanted to get into the mindsets of just like a deeper understanding of the mental model, particularly with our advanced researchers and how we'd be able to help them with a new design. So that placed us in a good position. By October of last year, we were able to release our beta site. And this is just a mobile view of the homepage of the beta design. At that point, it was further bug fixes. We put out an online feedback form, which is fantastic. And we were just doing a little bit more like design iteration. And then we hit our really big date of go live with the new design, which was in December of last year. So we've been now working with the new site since the end of last year. Again, it's ongoing iteration. We are still gathering feedback. And now we're up to, for this year, it's more about further building of what was that minimal viable product. And then we will be moving into a further phase 2 release of some new features. So that's a little bit about the journey that we've been through. In the early phase investigation and research with our users, we came up with some key themes that actually helped us inform our design thinking. And this really is no surprise, but across our audiences, our staff, our students are expecting easy task completion. And what is really driving that is time pressure. Our academics particularly said, I have no luxury of going and visiting your site, exploring it, and finding out what might be changing. I go because I need to complete a task, so make it easy for me. What's also really interesting is that we realise that with our students and our staff, they may end up at our site, but they may not start there. They may start with Google Scholar or somewhere else, but to access full text of our subscription content, they will end up at our website. And that's quite a good finding for us to be aware of, particularly with navigation and the user flow through a digital experience. What does that mean for our design? So as well as conducting that research with our end users, we did actually build up personas that we've been working with, and they do represent staff and students at different points of study and the research cycle. So we want to represent a beginning researcher, as well as knowing what's happening with someone who's at a very advanced level of conducting research. So that's just working with a standard sort of persona model. That was really great for us. So from that, we then identify there's quite a complex range of tasks that our homepage needs to support, and they range from very simple tasks through to more complex. For instance, you'll just get perhaps an undergraduate, they just want to book for a workshop, or that could be postgraduate, renew a book, find an online reading, get help with how you would actually set out your referencing, check library hours, find a favourite database. Now, that should be quite a simple task. And then we get through to more complex activities that our site has to support. We have our cohort of PhD students or even academics who are grappling with quite intense research topics, and they need to be able to know that they have comprehensively identified all relevant materials just through engaging with the content on our site. They need to set up search strategies, alerts, export citations. So we are ranging from simple to complex tasks that the design has to actually meet. So what does that mean for our design and what with us actually thinking about that discovery zone? We needed to support the user expectations, make it simple, make it easy for me, as well as the range of tasks to be supported. So that led through to quite a key search principle. Now, with the search everything box, which is what Brian is explaining, that's that top band, that's really our key discovery zone, and we are expecting for anyone who's arriving at our site, 80% of their tasks they will complete through engaging with that zone. Okay? That's our principle that we are striving for. Then the 20% where we have our more complex and sophisticated requirements are then met through other pathways, and we have developed some drop-down options. One of those is just exposed in this view of the site here, or it might be they choose to work with the global navigation that's along the top. So what this really means is, from those 91 choices that Brian is talking about, we actually are imposing quite a key behaviour change with our users, where we just are saying, just have a go, use that one box. So the test was, when we went live in December, how did we do? So as I said, we put out online feedback, and here's a sample of feedback from the first 2 days. I can't find the database e-journals list. Okay, so that was one person who was very upset about that. Make it navigatable instead of searchable. Dear librarians, why do you keep changing your website? I need to go into the library to find out how to be shown how to find my databases. So there's a lot of thinking behind the research, and there's a really nice chart here put out by Christian Rower, which I highly recommend you dipping into later. There's an online reading that goes along with this. And part of the research that we conducted, a success for me, was we developed what's called pop-up usability testing, where we just go across into our Kate Edgar and just run on the site, work with our students. It's behavioural and it's scripted. It's fantastic because it reaches across audiences. We make it very engaging for the students. They love it. They get chocolate and they work with us for a very short period, for about 5 minutes. And then we can feed back same day findings to our designer. So it's really good for that iterative process. Now, I know we're running a bit short with time, but I want to squeeze in just giving you an online interaction between 2 students who have to find a database. None of them have seen the new design, and we ran this in March of this year. So let's just see how they go with that.
Next question. So there's a database. It's called Source Premier. Can you find it on our website? Okay. So group collaboration's good. Talk about what you're doing.
I'm
just going to write this into the search bar.
I would do that as well. But firstly,
Because there used to be a databases tab, but I can't see it. Okay.
But firstly as well, there appears to be a drop-down box here, so I might
that's
check
a good
and
point.
see databases.
Databases. Okay.
Then, yeah.
So between you, you've got 2 really good sort of approaches there.
But I'm sure the search bar, I mean, without even doing databases, should also...
We should test this and see. No, that's not it. It's the second result
Yep.
for some reason. I'm not sure
You
why.
can connect to it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't even go that far.
Yeah.
That's what this particular
But I'm sure
exercise.
if we had gone to everything, it should work.
Didn't come up right away. There's more articles seem to be prioritized
Yeah.
if you search everything.
Oh, but then up here, databases as well.
4 databases.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, whoops. So if we had done everything, there would be like databases there as well. So it breaks you down to the databases.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So those students actually were able to find and work with the design. They found the drop-down. They also knew with the results that there were scopes that they could work with. So it was quite intuitive for them, and they actually learnt that new design quite quickly. And that's the sweet spot. That's what we're really aiming for, is that type of experience. But as you saw from some of that feedback, we're not quite there with all of our users yet. Now, I know that I'm running out of time. I want to give Brian some quick words at the end. So I'm just going to jump through from benchmarking. We have got some improvements. The hero design is definitely giving us greater reach with our promotional image. Specific items can be easily found, but we do have some issues around the labels, as Brian was talking about earlier. We've still got issues around the concept of search everything and study and research. And some of those elements are still not well seen. And generally, we have a changing face to what it means to be a librarian through our user-centred design. There's a lot of new skill sets that we are building up, and that's fantastic, I think, for us, because we're running it as an in-house project. We're not working with any external vendors. So we're building a very sustainable and scalable and just capability development for our own staff. And it's very collaborative as well. We work across teams. So from my point of view, it's been a fantastic experience that I've been involved with leading. So Brian, I think I'd let you finish off now with a few words there.
Bring it home. Right. So just two or three takeaway messages to wrap it up. Where's these papers? Okay. Where to next for us? I suppose the question, why are we doing this? Why don't we just use the vendors interface? You might be thinking yourself, well, we didn't think the vendor interface did everything we wanted to do. And vendors are increasingly acknowledging that libraries want to have access to an API to build their own front end because they can't, one size won't fit all. So that's kind of that. But some key messages to take away, if you don't remember anything else from our session, you need to get the stuff in the box in the first place to be able to be searched. So we've got all our subscription stuff, we've got our own stuff, but what about all the GLAM stuff, for instance, in New Zealand that's not in there yet? A lot of our cultural and heritage stuff is findable by Google, but it's not in our search box. How do we get it in there? Well, in New Zealand, the answer is to work with Digital New Zealand to aggregate your metadata, and then they'll be available for all of the web-scale discovery services. And then that web-scale discovery service will have the metadata from the GLAM section at sector, and you can search it. Just go back. I think another key message, we haven't done this yet. We need to make it personal. That's an ORCID ID with a promo was give everyone a cup with their own ID on. If we personalised the library and gave everyone a mug with a My Library, it might be interesting. But what I'm really talking about is that we know who you are. We know what you study. We know where your resources you regularly use, when your exams are. You know so many things about you, and yet every time you come to our website and our homepage, we act dumb, like we don't know who you are. We don't know any of these things. And that's stupid, as well as acting dumb. We know all this stuff. We need to deliver it. Sign on once, and that sign-on should last then, and we should be able to deliver your exam papers when it's coming up for exam, all the other stuff, the stuff that you use, integrate that kind of traditional My Library stuff of finds and all that, and create your own personal experience of the library, and not just in the library, have those available as an API so that student portals can consume that and other parts of the university as well. We've got more work to do on responsiveness. We're just about to ditch our mobile app from Boopsy. We were disappointed by the service they provided, and we can do the same thing with our responsiveness. We need to do some more work around accessibility across the website. We're using the accessibility guidelines, but we need to do a little bit more. We already realise that in our information architecture, our collections are invisible. They're a little bit further down the track. The university's, our library's doing some work.
I think he's trying to evade questions.
This is what I want to finish with. This is one last point. So many libraries are seen as service organisations, or they're assisting with research, or they're doing resource discovery. What we really need to be is laboratories of discovery that continually trying to improve discovery rather than doing something once every few years.
Thank slide and